The best teachers are those who show you where to look, but don't tell you what to see, said Alexandra K. Trenfor. I agree. When I think about teachers who inspired me, challenged me, and changed my life, they were often not simply telling me how to see the world, but showed it through their actions. I think of my middle school teacher who first saw my leadership potential and gave me a chance to lead a team when I wasn't even sure I had it. He believed in me and gave me a chance. I think of my English teacher in high school who pushed me to celebrate the joy of learning and writing and reading instead of being simply stressed about the grades I got. Even though I got C and D for my writings, she believed in me and didn't stop me from revisiting her office hours for more feedback. Looking back, I'm even more grateful for the many teachers I had in my life who believed in me, stood up for me, and challenged me to go a layer deeper, even when I didn't see it in me sometimes. Teachers are important figures in all of our lives, and I'm sure as I share my story, you could easily reflect on thinking of a few teachers in your lives who changed your life too. But what does it really mean to be choosing a career as a teacher? What skills would one have to be good at? And why do they choose to become a teacher? Hi, I'm Monica King, founder and CEO of InnovatorsBox and the host of this podcast, Curious Monica. Today, I'm excited to dive into what it's like to work in empowering youth and as a teacher as a career.
A lot of the times kids dream with a noun when their goal should be in a form of verb. So I wanted to be a dentist. I wanted to go into this college. I wanted to be a teacher. All of those are in form of noun. But when you really figure out what it is that you want to do, I feel like your true inspiration starts to live.
How do we make students feel? Right? They're going to remember their feeling with us. And like you mentioned, that trust, that connection is everything. And so once you have that, they will follow you to the moon and back.
Having grown up in two education systems, American and Korean, a few things seem to be consistent. Education is highly appreciated and respected. Yet a lot of teachers in school are underappreciated, underpaid, and very overworked. Why are the people who play such a key role in our lives and future are overworked and underpaid? And why do teachers start their career even if the work is demanding? It's because they deeply care. They care about the students, their journey, and the future they will build.
I feel like with teaching, I loved teaching, but I didn't really enjoy my life as a teacher, if that makes sense. Teaching part was fun. You're surrounded with kids, you're making impact in their life, you're empowering them. Those are all the positives about being a teacher. But there is a societal notion that teachers are teaching because they didn't get to do anything else in their life, kind of like those who don't will teach type of mentality. And especially because everybody goes through schooling in some part of their lives. Everybody has things to say about how you should be teaching. So I was always struggling with the idea of how teaching as a profession isn't as respected as it should be, because all the teachers I know invest so much into this career and they really do care about what kind of impact they're making on these little ones' lives.
Meet Ellie Kim, a K-12 teacher in Seattle and the founder of the children's education content on Instagram, Our Happy Mess. Ellie loves teaching and working with young children. Even in her early career in dentistry and science, she realized she enjoyed working with kids the most and decided to pursue a career in teaching full-time. Yet, despite good intentions, as she shared in her reflection, many parents and people don't fully recognize the hard work and thought teachers put into the work of teaching, especially of youth. And Ellie understands why it feels hard. We often want to share the best for our children, and at times it feels like we want to give them all the answers, which is the very thing that may prevent them from learning other key life lessons like failure and resilience. Ellie understands that internal voice and fight as a teacher and a mother of a young child herself too. It's hard to not want to share the best for our children, but we have to give our children more space to learn on its own and empower the teachers who are creating such spaces.
It's a challenge for me because it's a one thing to know in your head, but to execute it with your child while you're in the midst of your emotions is a completely different thing. But I think one thing to remember is that they're the owners of their own thoughts. So a lot of the times, because we love them so much and because we care for them and we want the best for them, we tend to give them the right answer or validate them or tell them a good job or try something else as a source of love. But I feel like there is a value in giving them opportunities to try themselves and fail. And I love this quote that I recently heard from the Ada Twist the Scientist show on Netflix. And it said, "We failed at this experiment. That means we succeeded on ruling out one of the possibilities." And that's something that I try to remember myself as a parent and also as an educator. As much as I want them to learn, giving them wait time and help them be able to figure that out themselves.
Yes, it's one thing to know, it's another to take action. Which is why, when I asked Ellie about what skills we should teach our youth more to empower them early on about the dynamic challenges and the growth when experiences in life, Ellie speaks about the importance of framing.
At least for me, I know when I decided to make a career change, I felt like I wasn't good enough or I failed in this goal that I pursued for such a long time. And I think that comes with the past where I was so focused on achieving things. I never really had a chance to look at what is it that I want. And another statement that comes close to my heart is that a lot of the times kids dream with a noun when their goal should be in a form of verb. So I wanted to be a dentist. I wanted to go into this college. I wanted to be a teacher. All of those are in form of noun. But when you really figure out what it is that you want to do, I feel like your true inspiration starts to live. So going with the first idea, it goes in hand with the first idea, letting your child figure out their own passion. And that only comes with trying different things, right? So giving them opportunities, letting them know that it's not going to be easy or you're going to figure it out in a one cue. Everybody goes through different phases in life, and that is completely okay. And I think one of the ways to show kids that is by being very vulnerable yourself as a parent. And that's one thing that we talk about a lot at schools too. Oftentimes teachers may look like an authority who knows all the answers, but we are still growing and we are learning. And then kind of showing that to kids is very powerful. I often tell my kids, well, you know what? Mom does know answers to that question that you're asking. So why don't we find that out together? Or Daddy might not know that, but that's okay. Or Mommy or Daddy might make a mistake or we get angry, or we're going to take a deep breath and try that again. Those modeling goes a long way.
This is why during the pandemic, she decided to use her knowledge and passion in teaching into Instagram content. As schools closed down and more parents and teachers struggled to find new ways of teaching, Ellie decided to create creative content to make teaching accessible. In less than a year, over 12,000 followers engaged with her daily content on how to speak with children better or what books to read to improve one's vocabulary. I was inspired by how Ellie thought of this by translating her own pain point. Teaching is not only demanding, but also at times isolating. Unless you take the time to reach out to connect with other teachers and educators, you could easily get stuck and stifled in a routine. This is why Ellie took extra intention to connect and collaborate with other teachers and educators around the world, and joined a group of teachers to network with during the pandemic.
We are coming to realize that teaching is a very isolated job. A lot of the times we turn to internet or content creators to look for other ways to teach because we're in our little own world. We get feedback from students and we have 3 or 4 times a year observation with our admins, but we would like more opportunity to kind of peek at each other's brain and learn new strategies and try new things and innovate. So I'm really excited to be a part of this organization who is aspiring to do that. And if we could build a platform collaboratively that highlights different teaching techniques the teachers are using that's been successful, that's one of our goals.
Ellie is a great teacher and a content creator because she really cares about the impact her students and colleagues have. It reminded me of the passion and dedication Margaret Park also had in why she decided to become a teacher. Margaret Park is an elementary school assistant principal and a teacher in Seoul, South Korea. Like Ellie, Margaret fell in love with teaching because of the impact you could have in serving the next generations. As a teacher and principal, she thinks a lot about the experience students have and realized how important it is to create safe rooms for students of all backgrounds. These nuances struck her even more as she saw the visible inequality her students in New York had from one neighborhood to another.
No, I'm glad you said that, Monica, because I think as educators, I think pedagogy, teaching, it's so important. I get that. But more than that, how do we make students feel, right? They're going to remember their feeling with us. And like you mentioned, that trust, that connection is everything. And so once you have that, they will follow you to the moon and back. And I think that's something, again, I learned from my experience in New York City, and that's carried over. And I'd have to say, having a counseling background has helped. I actually think every educator, every administrator, anyone in leadership should have some kind of counseling background where you're actively listening to someone, right? And you learn how to make people feel heard and valued. That goes a long way. So, thank you for mentioning that.
Margaret has been teaching K-12 for over 15 plus years, but like Ellie, she didn't anticipate being in this field earlier in her career.
No, this is not where I wanted to be. So when I first started out, I actually was studying to be a lawyer, a human rights lawyer. And then I quickly realized when studying for the LSATs, it just wasn't my cup of tea. And I found a fellowship in New York City, the New York City Teaching Fellowship. And I applied for it. And fortunately, I got accepted to that fellowship, and I got to teach and also get my master's in education. And just being in that environment, in that space, I was working in the inner city in New York City. It really opened my eyes to the inequities in education, the access, just all the systemic issues that were going on. And from an early age, I was trying to make sense of what was going on. I actually didn't have the vocabulary to articulate it. So if you were to ask me at the time, like my experiences, it would be very different from now. So now that I'm doing this work, I do a lot of DEIJ, diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice work. And now I have the vocabulary to explain what was going on. But that was really the impetus for me to stay in education. I became committed to fighting for justice and to make sure that systems work for everyone. And so when I was teaching, my philosophy in the classroom was making sure that every student could thrive just as they are in the classroom. And it was my role as an educator to make sure that that happened, whatever that meant.
This led to Margaret doing a Fulbright study in South Korea and teaching in Seoul Foreign School and becoming a counselor and assistant principal in Seoul, South Korea. Throughout her time, she is constantly thinking, how can I make teaching accessible for all diverse learners? Because the learning system is often inequitable and overly standardized. And these challenges were only amplified in lockdown. I asked how the decision-making process was for teaching during the pandemic. Many schools in Korea, like anywhere in the world, were forced to shut down for safety. So as a leader, what was the decision-making process like? How did you ensure your decision was equitable and inclusive for all?
So I think making decisions, especially when you're in leadership, it is hard. It is a burden because you have to think about all parties. And that's when I really like to emphasize leading through an equity and justice lens, making sure decisions are inclusive, that everyone affected is thought about, because oftentimes when you're making quick decisions, you're bound to like leave someone out, in my experience. So I try to do the best I can to make sure I'm not doing that. But I think one thing has been helpful for making decision is, one, I know that I'm not going to please everybody. There's no decision that I've made with my leadership team that 100% of folks were happy. I always made someone upset. I think the important part is transparency, is explaining the process on why. I know folks really appreciate that. And if they know that you have the best interest of the collective in mind and you're doing everything you can, that's really important. But also that active listening piece. For me, when I make decisions, I always try to get as many voices on the table, always thinking about who needs to be at the table, who's not, who's at the table, and how can I amplify their voices and make them feel valued and heard. But no, there were definitely some decisions that, my leadership team and I've made through the pandemic that wasn't so popular. But, we had certain data that maybe we couldn't share it all. But again, as long as that was communicated, if you have that trust, then it's okay. I would also say being innovative, right? I know you talk about creativity a lot, but I totally agree. I love that you're doing creativity stuff because it is so important to be creative, especially in times like this. It really forced myself particularly to think out of the box. How can we do meetings better? How can we do conferences differently? How can we still make it impactful with the restrictions that we have? And for me, through this pandemic, I'm actually really thankful. There's been so many silver linings about how many connections you made and just things that you never thought you can do. It like pushes you to the limits. I'm sure you felt the same way, Monica. It's really awesome to have these restrictions because then you're forced to be creative. You're forced to go out of your comfort zone. And I think that's something you can't really hone or exercise if you're not put in these situations.
Yes! We don't know what we could do differently until we try. And I appreciated Margaret's humility and reflection on how she is doing this. What about when people disagree with you? How do we bring them together? Teachers and educators are often working with multiple stakeholders. How can we work better together across different perspectives?
I think with decisions personally that I've made, I always try to think about the collective. What's the best for the collective? Is it transparent? And also, if I make a mistake, like I've made some decisions in the school that's maybe has impacted certain groups, and they've actually told me that they weren't happy with it and why. One, this trust was developed, so they were able to call me in. And again, I think for me, I am intentional about creating spaces where if someone calls me in, my initial reaction is to get defensive. You don't know what it's like to be me. That's literally my initial reaction. But with the critical self-reflection that we're talking about, I always stop myself. Like, why am I thinking that way? Right? Why? Right? It's because I don't want to appear weak or I don't want to appear incompetent at my job. And that's not a good reason. So I stop myself immediately. So I've actually learned when someone gives me feedback or calls in, I always stay silent. So I don't respond. I just listen. And then I just always say like, thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to process it a little bit. I'm going to reflect and get back to you because I do not want to make any decisions out of a defensive mode. I just know that about myself. So I think that's been really important in the decision making. So when I have made decisions that some people don't agree with, we have those conversations and they can be difficult, but they're so worth it. And then I learn, right? So taking notes and letting the other party see that, oh, I'm taking notes. And then I'll go and I'll reflect and make new decisions.
Thank you, Margaret, for these insights and honest reflection. This resonates with what Ellie shared earlier. It's natural as humans that we make mistakes or that we have differences with others. What's important is what we do in the face of it. Fight for a point of view or focus on listening to others' points of view to understand how we could bridge collaboration. It's a key skill, not just for educators and teachers working with multiple stakeholders, but for all of us. No matter where we work, we're all teaching, learning, and empowering one another. And it's important we learn how to listen, collaborate, and hear each other's differences. Most importantly, speaking with both Margaret and Ellie taught me how much of a difference it makes to have teachers who really care about the quality of the learning experiences students have. Those early experiences we have in our life shape how we see and think of the world. And I'm so grateful that we have so many incredible teachers like Ellie and Margaret around the world. Please take a moment to thank a teacher you know in your life for the work they do and in your community. Learn more about each of Margaret and Ellie's story by also finding them in our show notes. I hope today's conversation inspired you to rethink about education. Whether you're reminded of a teacher in your life or reminded of why you fell in love with your field as an educator, I hope we continue to honor the expertise and insightful work teachers carry in our society. This was your host, Monica Kang, founder and CEO of InnovatorsBox, and you're listening to Curious Monica. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Next week, I'm eager to visit some friends who are bringing impact and empowerment through their businesses. What does it mean to be a social entrepreneur? And how do you do business with a purpose? Curious? Join me next week and we'll learn more. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holiday! P.S. Notice some Christmas music throughout our episode today? Yes! You're noticing our songs from our latest holiday album by InnovatorsBox Studios called Pause to Wonder. As we think about the end of the year and reflect, I hope these songs also inspire you to celebrate your journey as an innovator. Calendar is our song celebrating the end of the year and the long-distance relationships we have with our loved ones around the world. Happy Christmas, and see you next week!
Missed you. Oh, hi. I'm Kelly Gravo, a creative intern at InnovatorsBox, and I hope you're enjoying Curious Monica. Something I've been really curious about this past year is baking in the kitchen. I've been sharpening my technical skills with galettes, pastries, and hopefully in the future, cake. This show is brought together by our amazing podcast team at InnovatorsBox Studios. Shout out to our audio engineer, Sam Lemmert, me on marketing, website designer Akriti Pandey, graphic designer Monica Escobar, Leo Orsini on social media graphics, Sarah Banderita and Floor on project assistance, and Luke Helder on music. And of course, this show is hosted and directed by the curious woman herself, Monica Kang, founder and CEO of InnovatorsBox. To continue the curiosity and creativity of the workplace, visit us at innovatorsbox.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share. We would love to hear what you're curious about and what mysteries Monica can uncover in our future episodes. See you next week.
Hey, it's Monica King from InnovatorsBox. Thanks for watching this. I'm so glad you're here. I hope this inspired you to be creative, curious, and courageous. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video to spread creativity for all. See you soon, and have a wonderful, magical day.